What is going on? I want to welcome you from Half Court for today, the beginning of season 5 here at From Half Court. I am Sean Murphy alongside Marquette's movement shooter, my better half, Troy Sergey. Troy, brother, good to have you here. How are you doing today? Happy opening week to you and to all of those who celebrate.
Yes, good to have you here, Sean. And we have about a little over 24 hours left before we have the kickoff to the regular season. Looking forward, to some of those teams playing. Obviously, the Lakers and the Warriors, and looking at the Rockets and the Thunder. Some really great games going to start on Tuesday, and then, my goodness, the rest of the week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We got a bunch of games each day. So it's going to be really exciting to see and to watch, all these teams come together that we've talked about so much. A lot of offseason moves with some of them that really are going to be rebranding their future. But of course, our team, Sean, the Detroit Pistons, it's going to be really fun to watch them get a kickstart to their season this week as well.
No question. Obviously, a lot of things up in the air in the NBA. A lot of teams very close, I would say, in proximity as far as talent and as far as, aspirations for this season. And there's a lot of teams that have some real questions to answer. And Troy, there's a little bit of a tradition that we have here at this podcast. There's one podcast that we have to do every single year above all else. And it is our tier episode. I messaged you last night. I was like, you know what week it is, right? You know what pod this is, right? You're like, remind me. I'm like, dude, it's tier time, baby. Let's go. So the way we have this set up, just for those that are going to be watching from home, the way we have it set up, the current tiers that we have are, it starts at the top, the serious, the contenders, the teams that we see at the top of the league. Then it goes to on the doorstep. Then it's getting frisky. Then it's mid. Gotta have the whole tried and true mid category, Then it's what are we doing here? And last, but no, certainly not least. Well, actually, no, it would be least, is nuclear fallout. And I think this is a pretty good way to describe the different tiers of teams in the NBA. So with that, Troy, I say we just get into it and we start with the Atlanta Hawks and go alphabetical order. You say we do that?
Yeah, I think that's great. And just another reminder for our audience here, I think when you look at the 6 tiers that we have here, I think it's easy to think, well, there's 30 NBA teams. 6 times 5 is 30. You put 5 on each tier, but that's not always the case, Sean, right? We've talked about many times there's some of these categories that only have maybe 2 teams in it, and then we have another category that has 8 or 9 teams in it. So just a reminder as well, is this isn't going to look like a super pretty graph when we're all said and done.
Oh yeah, if the names are any indication, this is not a super in-depth organized chart. This is based off of us as fans of basketball, people who follow the league the way that we do, and based off of what we've seen and just overall vibes heading into the season, where we think teams are today and where we think they'll end up. And team that I think is a really interesting team to discuss when talking about where they could be in the standings this year is the Atlanta Hawks. And Troy, obviously, I know that's a team that, everyone was really high on what they've done this offseason. And I know a lot of people view Atlanta, pretty high in the tiers of what what they could be in the Eastern Conference. In my opinion, Troy, I think Atlanta belongs in getting frisky, and potentially they could be right on the doorstep if everything comes together for the Hawks. But anytime you're relying on the health of Kristaps Porzingis, we've just seen time and time again, that's a dangerous game to play, and teams don't normally do well with it unless you have the insane infrastructure that's the Boston Celtics. And yes, there's some really talented, players on this roster, and this is the best roster Trae Young has had without a doubt. But at the same time, this is still I still think there's some real question marks about where this team actually ends up. So for right now, I think they're frisky, but I can't say they're anything more.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that, Sean. And I think the big thing, a name that I think is a huge put up or shut up season is Trae Young himself, right? I think a lot of the success of the Atlanta Hawks, or lack of success, we haven't started the season yet, with the Hawks will be with Trae Young's performance. And when you're relying on him too to be, producing high minutes and putting your team as a on the doorstep caliber, you just don't know yet. So I think getting frisky is the safe option. I think that they've made enough moves where they're better than a mid. I think last year we probably would have put them on a mid level, but again, these offseason moves I think have bounced them up. So yeah, I don't think there's any disagreement on getting frisky.
Yeah, I think, when you look at the roster around, Trae Young, you have guys like Jalen Johnson who have really high potential. You have guys on this team. Dyson Daniels, how can you not be high on his defensive upside and what he brings? Luke Kennard, we know about his shooting ability. Zachary Risachet, the number 1 overall pick that everyone just seems to forget exists, but he could potentially have a jump going into this season as well. And so, like, all that to say, like, there's some real factors on this team that if everything comes together, Atlanta could potentially be, on the doorstep of another Eastern Conference Finals appearance for Trae Young and the crew. But also, I wouldn't be shocked if this team was in the play-in tournament either. And so I can see the scenarios of the good and the bad very equally for this team. Now, a team that I don't know what to think about right now is the Boston Celtics. If I'm just being honest, I'm leaning mid here, Troy, just because I think without Jason Tatum, yes, they have Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Joe Mazzulla, the infrastructure of the Celtics, but they lose Jason Tatum for the majority of the year. He's trying to come back, but I don't know if he actually does. And if he does, is it a good idea? And you have guys like Anthony Simons, where it's like, okay, how does he fit in? This is a roster where, people are like, oh, well, they could be a lot better than people think. But also, who's their center exactly? Like, they have some guys in the preseason that look really, that look like they could actually be some, pretty good pieces. But with all due respect, if you're relying on Luka Garza minutes, you might be having a difficult time. To me, the Boston Celtics, I think they're mid.
Yeah, I'm going to slightly disagree already. I'm going to say getting frisky just because I think of their high offensive ability with an Anthony Simons added to this roster, as well as we know what Jaylen Brown is capable of doing and the high quality performances that he can do, and to really put them, on the map. And we just know the culture of the Boston Celtics. Certainly I don't think obviously they're contenders without Tatum, but I just don't think they're not going to have a mindset of viewing this season as, a rebuild or a year off or an off year. I just think that they're still going to have a pedal to the metal attitude as a team. And because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if this is still the 4th seed in the conference this year.
I wouldn't be surprised if they still went out and had a good season, but I would also say at the same time, defensively, especially without Tatum on the floor, this is a significantly worse team defensively. Anthony Simons is statistically one of the worst defensive players, if not the worst defensive player in basketball. And some of the offensive numbers for Anthony Simons, he's definitely like a solid 20-point a game scorer. My one question is, if this is a team that just truly lives and dies by the 3 ball and are just going to shoot it, which I've heard people like Bill Simmons say they could shoot it as much as 70 times a game, or like 70 times in a game this season, like they're going to be letting it fly. And they certainly have guys who are able to do it. But when push comes to shove, like, is this team anything more than like a really respectful first round exit?
I could still see a second round exit.
Okay. We'll say again.
Okay.
I agree with you of giving Boston the benefit of the doubt and putting them in that getting frisky category. I just think that I'm not as optimistic on the ancillary pieces. And as much as I think highly of Jaylen Brown, I just think that the loss of Jason Tatum, he was their system.
Sure. And like you mentioned earlier, you could even get a Tatum back by playoffs. There's still question marks there.
Yep, for sure. The Brooklyn Nets have a good season. The Charlotte Hornets. So the next team on this list, no, in all seriousness, Brooklyn, Troy, I mean, is this anything other than nuclear fallout?
No, there's just nothing competitive with the roster that I feel like can compete with even some of the Eastern Conference teams. I just they're really trying to figure out their identity still, and they haven't yet. And for that, there's plenty of teams I think we can put under the what are we doing here, but I think we already know what they're doing here. So
yeah, their owner essentially came out in an interview last week and pretty much explicitly said what they're doing here, which is losing as many games as possible. They have 5 first-round picks from this last draft who are all going to play, and they're all playmakers who don't necessarily fit on the court well together. And Michael Porter Jr. is going to be the number 1 option, which that says everything in itself. So I'm sure this will be an interesting league pass team. I'm sure this will be like an interesting highlight reel team. I also can only imagine the vibes that are going to be in this locker room, especially if they lose as many games as people think they can, which I think it could be a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Now the Charlotte Hornets. Troy, I want to make the case that this is the epitome of a what are we doing here team.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's no debate there.
This is year 6 of the LaMelo Ball experience. The record was a lot better in the first 2 years than it has been in the last 4. I think he's only like he's failed to play over like 59 games, I believe, in a single season throughout his career. And so you have a guy who is really talented, who there's no debate has all the intangible gifts as far as athletic ability and what things he could do on the court to be a franchise star. But this team is only going backwards in win total over the last couple of years. They do have some really interesting pieces. I like some of the moves that they've made. They do have a coach I like and a new ownership group that seems to know what they're doing. But this is the year we got to know if LaMelo's the guy or not. Because if not, what are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly. And not just LaMelo. I mean, you got a guy like Miles Bridges as well. Is kind of a definition of a what are we doing kind of player, as far as, what kind of caliber are we going to have around him? What does his future in Charlotte look like? And obviously you summarized everything that I think the NBA has looked at with LaMelo. And, I think this team is, as far as seeding goes, maybe their floor is an 11th seed in the East, right? I mean, maybe 12.
I could see. I mean, this they've made the play-in before. It's just, you remember what happened when they made it there? They got absolutely clobbered both times by the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
And not the good Indiana Pacers, not the Halliburton Pacers. This was the Domantas Sabonis Pacers that were probably in that mid to getting frisky category themselves. So I listen, it's not a secret that I got in some debates about Cade Cunningham versus LaMelo Ball, but it's like if you were to poll every single general manager in the NBA anonymously, all 30 would take Cade Cunningham, including the general manager of the Charlotte Hornets. And I just don't think that's a debate. So
that's a good perspective and argument for it.
The Chicago Bulls, talking about the epitome of what are we doing here.
Yeah.
I think the Chicago Bulls are the epitome of mid.
Okay.
On hell or high water, the Chicago Bulls are 500 and make the play-in. Death, taxes, and Chicago versus Miami in the play-in. Every year. This is who they are, what they do, how they operate. They are mid.
I kind of think that they're due for some regression, Sean. I I could see a world where they don't even make the play in.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. I could see a world where they don't for sure, but somehow, some way, this team just finds a way to sneak right into that play-in spot. I mean, they really, I mean, obviously they have some real questions to answer, but the reality of it is I question how much urgency comes from the ownership group when this is a team that's been first in attendance 4 years in a row with a team that's playing caliber and right in the middle of the pack. So that's that's the tough thing about like projecting them to do even better or like to reach a different level. I mean, I will say like Mataz Buzelis, I'm excited to see what he looks like in year 2 because he got a lot better as the season went on last year.
Yeah.
I actually think Josh Giddey in Chicago is a pretty good fit. Kobe White is like a pretty solid scoring guard. Like they have guys who can put the ball in the basket. I just don't think they have anyone that's going to blow you away, and they went and got Isaac Okoro, which is like the next most Patrick Williams feeling player you could go get. So
right. Same draft too.
Yeah.
I guess my only thing is I think they are so mid that the regression makes you ask the question, what are we doing here?
For sure. For sure. So. Yeah. You know what? You sold me. What are we doing here? I mean, that's the Bulls that's the question Bulls fans ask every day.
Yeah.
So that's who they are. Now, Cleveland.
Yeah.
Point blank period. I think you have to put them at the contender spot.
You do.
I mean,
you do. The roster is just too deep, and you got some of these guys like Mobley and even Darius Garland. I think really heading into their solid prime, along with what we know Donovan Mitchell is capable of doing. We saw. I mean, Sean. One thing. Do you remember what happened in the first month and a half of the season last year? Team started off 16 or 17-0.
Yeah. They won 64 games.
How do you have a different argument? They're here. They're here contending. Just because they're contenders doesn't mean they'll make the finals, let alone win the finals. But they're contending right up there on the top of the conference. So yeah, they have to be up there.
I would argue, Troy, is there any team in the league that should be asking themselves the question, if not now, when, more than the Cleveland Cavaliers?
No, I think that question is beyond appropriate.
Because this is the only team in the NBA now that's in the second apron. This is the this is the most expensive team in the league. They have Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. Really you have to figure out if Darius Garland's going to be healthy at some point. But even then, you can let him take all the time he needs with these issues that he's having in order for him to actually come back and to be healthy and to be ready to go. Like they have the ability to weather whatever storm is kind of in front of them as far as that goes. They went and got Lonzo Ball this offseason, which is just a great addition, to have as your backup point guard. They have everything they need. Point blank period. If not now, when?
Right.
Especially with the amount of teams that are not in front of them in the East. And even the teams that are going to be up there in the contender spot in the East, we'll get to. I think they have a really hard time with Cleveland's size if they truly utilize it and maximize it. If anything short of a finals appearance for a Cleveland Cavaliers fan to me this year is a failure.
Yeah. And
flat out.
You mentioned Lonzo too, and I think that's going to be a great addition. Just a little bit we saw with him in preseason. Dude looks comfortable, and we have not been able to say that about Alonzo Ball. And the situation for him, Lonzo Ball's career is going to be defined by these next couple seasons in Cleveland.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're just such a physical team. You talk about the bodies. Yeah, just a really physical, top-notch team. Yeah. Nothing more to say. Contenders.
This next one might surprise you, Troy. Dallas Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
I have them today on the doorstep, even without Kyrie Irving. To me, what gets them out of the doorstep and into the contender spot is when Kyrie Irving's healthy and on the court.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I think Cooper Flagg's ready to go right now. I think You look at some of the lineups that they've been toying with. I think this team, the way that it's constructed, has a legitimate chance to be a demon on the defensive side of the court. Derek Lively and Anthony Davis potentially starting together. You also have Daniel Gafford. I think they have by far the best trio of bigs in the league. Like to me, it's a Cleveland and in Dallas have the deepest center rotation or big rotation in the league. And there's legitimate chance that in the playoffs they could be having a 5-man lineup of Kyrie, PJ Washington, Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis, and Derek Lively. And that's a team that can still shoot. That's a team that can space the floor. That's a team that can defend like hell. I think this is a team that gives like the Oklahoma Cities of the world real fits in a playoff matchup. Now, you have to throw out the health variable,
right?
Especially after how things went with Anthony Davis at the end of last year. He is wearing protective eyewear for the rest of his career now. He's going to be wearing goggles or glasses, on the court. So hopefully whatever weird eye injuries he continues to run into, those mitigate. The only other questions to me are, like, can his back hold up? Kind of some of like those other, like he had like those really weird groin kind of injuries last year. If Anthony Davis can play 60 plus games, I think you have enough here to where if you have to face Dallas in the first round, I don't think you feel comfortable about it at all.
I agree with you in a lot of what you said. I think Cooper Flag 100% is ready to play. But you said you got to throw out the health variable. I don't know if I'm able to throw out the health variable.
No, I'm not saying you got to throw it out as like you got to forget about it. I meant like you have to acknowledge it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm certainly acknowledging it. I feel like still with a rookie, no matter what rookie you're talking about, I think whenever you have a rookie, especially number 1 overall pick, you automatically get that franchise in the mix of getting frisky. Because again, they were a 10th seed last year. I don't know if they're automatically go from a 10th seed to on the doorstep. I'm still going to have to go to getting frisky, but you compromised with me last time with the Bulls. As far as our graphic goes, I'm okay with compromising here.
Can I make the case?
Let's do it one more time.
Okay. The reason why I put them up here is because let's remember, yes, they were the 10th seed at the end of last year. Once Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving both went down, the season did collapse and, things didn't go well. However, this is a team that made the finals the year before, and they did it with the Luka Doncic. That has to be said. But if you talk about we talk about like with quarterbacks, is this the best situation a number 1 pick's ever come into in the NFL? This is without a doubt the best situation an NBA players come into as a number 1 overall pick in our lifetimes. Mm-hmm. When you talk about, for Cooper Flag to come in and have 2 guys who have been number 1 picks in Kyrie and Anthony Davis, and you have Jason Kidd as a coach who got extended and for a good reason, because he's done pretty well in Dallas, especially with the cards that he was given. And they, even with all the stuff that they went through last year, they still almost made the playoffs if it wasn't for a loss to Memphis in that final playing game. And so I imagine that Anthony Davis is going to be really motivated this year coming off of the trade to prove a lot of people wrong and to, because people have been talking about, him as the receiving end of the worst trade in the history of the league. And then you have Kyrie when he comes back. When I think of like why this team's like right on the doorstep is once you slot Kyrie Irving into this team, I'm not saying that brings them right to the contendership, but that immediately makes them one of those immediate threats to the very best.
Yeah, I guess you sold me. I guess looking at Kyrie with the roster, I think you're right. That does certainly help them quite a bit. I'm fine with keeping the
as long as they weather the storm with D'Lo in the lineup, once you get Kyrie in there with Cooper Flag, with all these guys, the biggest one that scares me from, like, when it comes to health, we talk a lot about about Anthony Davis. I need to see Derek Lively on the court more consistently too.
Mm-hmm.
He's had some really weird injuries, so
that's right.
Definitely something to keep an eye on for sure. It's definitely not a for sure lock and sealed guarantee there. You know who is though, Troy? Denver Nuggets. That's a contender.
When you have Nikola Jokic on your team, hard to put you anywhere else.
And this is arguably the best supporting cast he's had, at the very least, since he won a championship.
He's got Bruce Brown back, baby.
He's got Bruce Brown. He's got Cam Johnson. He's got Tim Hardaway Jr. He has not Vucevic. He has Jonas Valanciunas as his backup big.
Great
they could potentially, and they could potentially play together on the court at the same time as well. This is a lot more of an agile Denver team. With the new head coach and David Adelman, there's kind of a new renewed energy in Denver with that new kind of change of the coaching staff. And again, just with Aaron Gordon back and healthy, with Nikola Jokic, back and motivated. I think this is a team that is primed to be in the Western Conference Finals.
I agree, Sean. And I think just like with Cleveland, because the West is a little more deeper, I'm not going to say anything less than a final run is a failure, but I would say anything less than a conference finals run, if you have this roster, and if you don't make the conference finals and you're a Denver Nuggets fan, yeah, I'm calling this season a failure. I mean, that's how serious this is with Jokic's legacy. But let's think about the 2023 championship. I mean, two earlier exits that you would have liked to. Nikola Jokic is too good, in my opinion, to be having second round exits.
No doubt.
So yeah, you can't have a third second year exit in a row.
No doubt. I think when you look at even last year, that Western Conference playoff series between Oklahoma City and Denver, where Oklahoma City, it took every bit of Game 7 for them to get past the Denver Nuggets. And even then, it almost didn't look like they were going to for a little bit there. And now this is the roster that the Thunder are going to be facing. Like, it's already been really difficult to repeat in years past in the NBA. This is going to be the most difficult repeat campaign we ever see a team face. And it's probably the youngest team to ever have this type of repeat campaign. So,
and that's no disrespect to the Thunder one bit. It's just looking at how other rosters were forced to tweak, rightfully so, to be able to compete. It's actually, if anything, it's a compliment to see how good the Thunder are. You made teams have to cash totally in to even be within an arm's reach of you.
Yeah. And we'll obviously be talking about the Thunder in a bit. The one thing I will say, though, is Jalen Williams. I don't think there's a player that I've grown more respect for through a playoff run as far as who he can be and who he is now. Do you know how many injections he got during the playoffs in his wrist?
More than I realize.
37.
A lot.
37.
I would have guessed like 20 max.
That is unreal, man. To endure that type of pain and to not even say a word about it, not even show it when he's on the court. And by the way, to still absolutely freaking hoop.
To play really well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Detroit Pistons.
Well, traditionally, Sean, we have waited till the end just because we have a lot of Pistons fans waiting. Now, we could get the suspense over with here in the now, or we can do the rest of the list. Up to you. I have no strong opinions.
We'll come back to the Pistons.
We'll come back
Golden
to the
State
Pistons.
Warriors.
Yeah.
Golden State Warriors.
A lot of question marks, I think.
A lot of question marks here. This is a team that could be right on the doorstep. This is a team that could be frisky. This is also a team I wouldn't be surprised that they're mid. I think at the very least, I think you have to put them right up here on the doorstep just because when you have Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, like this is a team that no doubt has the talent to contend. That has like when you're just talking about the pieces and the roster they have, like, Al Horford, you add that to the mix. Like on paper, this is the best roster Golden State's had since they won the championship, and they played really well to end last year. But also the vibes are kind of weird in Golden State right now. Things are, Steph Curry is definitely getting older. Like Draymond, the seasons have gotten more and more tumultuous. Jimmy Butler, we all know that things can flip, on a dime at any point. He did get paid, so in theory he should be happy. But this is a situation that could get absolutely volatile, or they could be playing late into May, and none of us would be shocked.
Yeah, I know it's so hard for me to pick on the doorstep or getting frisky just because of how deep the West is getting right now and how competitive each. I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot of wiggle room, I think, from the 3rd seed to the 6th seed, and we've seen that in years past as well.
Yeah.
On the doorstep is still just a little too high for me. I'm gonna have to do getting frisky.
To me, this is just a respect play.
Sure.
In part of if you're going between the two, like I'm gonna lean towards the head coach who has some of the most championships in the history of the league, between playing and coaching. Steph and Draymond both have 4 rings respectively. And then Jimmy Butler, who we've seen be an incredible playoff riser. Like I know one thing for sure: if this team's healthy come postseason time, when all you have to do is beat a team 4 wins out of 7 games, I don't know if any team wants to face Golden State in the first round.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can get by that for sure.
And I think even like on the doorstep, I think something to keep in mind is on the doorstep means you can either you can burst right through that door and emerge into contendership, or that door can slam you right in the face and you can see yourself sliding down,
That definition of on the doorstep makes me more comfortable with them.
Yeah. Yeah. On the doorstep, like anything can really happen here. The Houston Rockets. Obviously, you go and add Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
That makes you an incredibly tantalizing team.
Sean, am I crazy to think that they could be contenders?
Not at all. Not at all. I think they absolutely can be contenders. I'd argue they're on the doorstep of contention because once they have a definitive answer at point guard, I will feel a lot more comfortable about them being a contender. Fred VanVleet going out tearing his ACL is just a really tough blow for a team that, needed some more veteran leadership on the court. Now your oldest player, your most experienced player is going to be Kevin Durant, which no respect to Kevin Durant, but we've all seen how things can go south very quickly and how hard things can be to get them on the tracks. Now, this is their projected starting 5 going into opening night. This is Ime Udoka announced it. So this is real. Amen Thompson at the point, Kevin Durant at shooting guard, Jabari Smith at the 3, Alperen Şengün at 4, and Steven Adams at the 5. So they are going full jumbo lineup to start the year, and this could potentially be super dangerous for other teams. My one concern, again, I think Amen Thompson, I think he's going to be an all-star.
I was going to say, I expect a big breakout year from him.
I expect a big breakout year for him too. When push comes to shove, do you feel 100% comfortable right now that he's going to be your lead ball handler in the playoffs?
Yeah. On the doorstep. Doorstep. A safe answer.
Yeah. Like, I think like contenders, like that's a surefire, like I know that team's ready to compete for a championship going into the year, Mm-hmm. And I would have put Indiana right there if Tyrese Halliburton didn't unfortunately tear his Achilles and Miles Turner left for Milwaukee. I mean, Troy, I just think from a respect standpoint, you kind of have to put him at mid. You could potentially say, what are we doing here? Is this going to be a season where we really try to compete? Is this a season where we try to reload? But I think with Rick Carlisle and with some of the pieces you have in place, at the very least, this is going to be a team that's right there in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think we're going to have a breakout year, potentially even one of my candidates that I think could be a most improved player is Andrew Nimhard. I think he just showed out during the finals, the whole playoff run. I think with him being your primary ball handler and scoring option, there's going to be a lot that we can look to in Indiana in that regard. Pascal Siakam is no joke either. I remember texting you a little bit throughout the playoffs of like, we don't like name another player in the last 20 years that we don't talk about enough, like Pascal Siakam, right? I mean, like he is like one of the most underrated all-stars we've seen. And yeah, I mean, we saw a little great production from Neesmith, but you're right. Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton are just too big of losses to put anything up. You could argue if you do have a breakout year from Nimhard and Siakam doesn't look like he skipped a beat at all, you could get into getting frisky, but even getting frisky to me is only like a top ceiling is like a 6th seed. So in that regard, you're probably more likely to be like an 8th seed. And that to me is mid. So that's where I feel comfortable having them as well.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how guys like Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker, like how they take advantage of the opportunity of increased minutes.
Definitely.
And available opportunity, especially a guy like Jarris Walker, who was highly touted and has been a lottery pick who just hasn't played as an Indiana Pacer, like not consistently, unless it's in garbage time.
Right.
So there's really no excuse for him to not play this season, at least in some capacity. And I'm excited to see a guy like an Obi Toppin does this year as well with more opportunity, because I've really liked him in Indiana under Rick Carlisle.
Me too. And he showed that he's here for the moment with some of the production we saw from the playoffs.
Yep. The Clippers. This is another team that's difficult for me to decipher as well. If I had to lean any direction, Troy, I'd put them in the frisky category, because they did win 50 plus games last year. They went and acquired Brooke Lopez. They did lose Norman Powell, but they also got Bradley Beal, who's going to be really motivated with how things went in Phoenix. You have Chris Paul back in a Clippers uniform that you're able to bring back as like your backup point guard. Like, this is a team, like let's call a spade a spade. This team's old as hell. Okay, they're old, but they have like former all-stars or high-level all-NBA talent everywhere on this roster. And you also have a guy who's like in Tyronn Lue, who is consistently at the very top, if not the top head coach in all of the coaching surveys done every single year. Like, he is like, Tyronn Lue is the real deal. And then you also have Jeff Van Gundy as the lead assistant, who he should be coaching his own team based off of how he did last year. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if Van Gundy does get another shot somewhere here soon, because he's been phenomenal for the Clippers. And also, you have a healthy Kawhi Leonard going into the year for once. So
yeah. No, I was going to say, Sean, looking at like the Atlanta Hawks as far as a younger version of the definition of getting frisky, this is kind of the older version of getting frisky, right? Like that they're going to be playing high production basketball, but is it going to be so competitive that, you're looking at a deep playoff run? Probably not. So yeah, in that regard, they're the old version of the Hawks, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if the Hawks are going clubbing on Saturday nights, eat deep into the wee hours, these Clippers, they're like going to the bingo hall at Tuesdays at 3 and getting to bed by 6. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
They old. Anyway, the Lakers.
Yeah, I just feel like with Luka Doncic on your roster, you would be putting a shame if you had anything less than on the doorstep, really being
Yeah.
ready to compete.
Yeah. I think this is a team that's at the door as well. There's obviously the LeBron situation, waiting to hear what happens with him, especially with his health, dealing with sciatica, being the oldest player in the league, going into year 23. Like this is uncharted territory now. Every year it's uncharted territory. And, even though we have seen nothing to suggest that LeBron just won't continue to be awesome in this light, you still have to, in the back of your head, at least acknowledge the reality that this is just not sustainable forever. Having said that, Luka Doncic has looked amazing in preseason and just looks phenomenal as far as the condition and the shape that he's gotten in. JJ Redick got extended beyond after his first year, and for good reason, based on what he's done with the Lakers. There was some situations in the playoffs and, some games where he was definitely questioned for some of his coaching decisions, but I think a summer to go back to the tape, look and reevaluate things. And now to actually have a functioning center who, say what you want about DeAndre Ayton, he was the number one pick for a reason. Not a good reason, but a reason.
Yeah. And actually, believe it or not, Sean, the question marks with LeBron and DeAndre Ayton, I mean, still call question marks, totally new role. We don't know how it's all going to play out. If we had more certainty in those areas, I actually might want to put them in contender. But because of that, there's just no way that I would feel comfortable doing that. There's too many things we have to wait and see.
Yeah. And also just, I think it's also okay to acknowledge the fact that just like when you look at the role players beyond those top three and, LeBron, Luka and Ayton, like this is a team that is in need of depth, in need of additional role players. And it starts with the fact that Dalton Connect, the guy that you went and got in the first round last year, that was the media darling in the honeymoon phase with him at the start of his Lakers career. Ever since that trade got nixed with the Charlotte Hornets, Dalton Connect has been an absolute shell of himself. He looked awful in summer league. I didn't watch preseason, but I know he's just been struggling, and teams are like, you would have to attach a first round pick to get off of Dalton Connect now.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're at. So he's going to be a big piece of how competitive they're going to be because they need a knockdown shooter.
Right.
Memphis.
Yeah.
M for mid to me.
Yeah, I like the mid. I guess I ask the question, what are we doing here? Just because of roster and John Morant uncertainty, and just, again, they were the number 2 seed just little over 3 years ago. But just because I'm asking the question doesn't mean that they're in that category, right? We still know the team has good talent to be able to compete on somewhat. But yeah, I mean, this is a high play-in, low playoff roster, which I think is kind of the definition of mid, right?
Yeah, I think this is a team that's entering purgatory territory. Mm-hmm. I think how about purgatory adjacent?
Yeah, and it's such a shame because this roster, again, 3.5 years ago, sky was the limit with upside and potential.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, you still have, like, there is still an upside there, which is why they're in purgatory, because it's like, well, it's like they're not bad enough to give up on, because John Morant, like, when it comes to marketability, when it comes to, excitement and highlight reels, when it comes to when he's on the court, he's right up there with some of the most exciting players in the league and someone that you want to be at the centerpiece of your franchise. He's just missed too many games, whether it be for his physical health, whether it be for some of his off-court decision-making. And then Jaren Jackson Jr., it's just the guy can't stay healthy. He's always injured in some capacity. Mm-hmm. And when he's on the court, this team's a lot better. I know last year he actually, he did, for the most part, over the last few years, he's actually been really healthy. So shows you how much Memphis basketball I've been watching over the last couple of years. But He's not healthy going into the season, and neither is Zach Edey. So this is very much teetering on what are we doing here. But for now, I don't think Memphis really has a choice but to keep going with John Morant and just hoping it eventually kind of figures itself out. But otherwise, like I still think like they're not quite there yet on there being a real deadline here for Ja. I think he's still too important to the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I agree. The next team, though, Sean, I think you can probably say some similar things, just with maybe don't have that emerging star like Memphis with Ja, but at least has some pieces, and obviously coach and front office where you're not quite in lottery territory, but man, you are miles away from the finals run you made 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo are two solid players. I don't think they're good enough to be the top of a championship team or to be, top of a team that can get past even the second round at the very best. But Heat culture, always going to be competitive in some way. This roster is definitely one of their worst rosters they've had going in the season in a while. It's starting to feel kind of like the Hassan Whiteside Heat, where things just were kind of middling. And I think they are getting close to asking themselves what's happening.
Yep.
But I mean, Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, they're always going to field a competitive team on the court some way, somehow.
Agreed.
So, but they're right in those middle dreads,
Yep.
Milwaukee. This is interesting because when you have a Giannis, I feel like you are at the very least always on the doorstep.
Without a doubt.
I also just don't really like the roster much outside of Giannis, Miles Turner, AJ Green, and like that's about it.
Right. Who's your point guard? Who's running the show? Right. I mean,
yeah.
There's question marks. I'm on the doorstep as well, Sean, but I'm also open to the door getting slammed in my face.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is Milwaukee's final chance.
I would have thought last year was, but they got lucky with just how things navigated with they were able to get Dame off their roster and bring in a guy like Miles Turner. I mean, this is the last chance.
Yeah, especially with some of the moves that they've made and some of the commitments that they've made now with the waiving and stretching of Dame, with the Miles Turner contract. Like, this is a team that is going to have essentially 20% of its salary just dead for the next half decade after like starting this year. And unless Giannis just suddenly takes this group to the promised land now with kind of a younger version of what they had with Brook Lopez, then this team could potentially be a real threat to teams in the East. Like, I think you have to view them that way. But at the same time, I'm not a big believer in the Milwaukee Bucks going into this year, but I still think you have to view them as being right there.
Yep.
The Minnesota Timberwolves. Man, I think this is a team. They've made the Western Conference multiple years, like finals, multiple years in a row. I don't think they've gotten better or gotten themselves anywhere over. I'm willing to put them on the doorstep as well and move a team like Dallas down to getting frisky.
Hey,
just when we're looking at like the landscape of this tier, because
right
now that things are starting to form more, it's like Minnesota's clearly like they're right there, right? There is an invisible wall that they have to get over. And I think that starts with the maturation of an Anthony Edwards. But also, I just think it starts with other guys taking on roles and stepping up and being ready to kind of take that next step as a team. And I mean, like, I think a guy that you have to look at now is Naz Reid. Like, he wanted to get paid that money. Well, you got it. Now you have to go and produce that level of basketball. I mean, this is a team that's clearly good enough to win multiple playoff rounds each year. What's the thing that's going to get them to that next level? What gets them through the door?
Right, and I still don't think we fully know the ceiling yet of Anthony Edwards, which I think is
Right.
exciting if you're a Timberwolves fan, but also, you know, ceiling doesn't always work out. So you need
Yep.
those players around you like you're describing. And dude, just love Naz Reid though. I mean, what a true definition of how the game has evolved.
Yeah, for sure. At the same time, though, just being realistic of, if, for those people that don't know, like Naz Reid, like his sister was killed, like pretty right, like like shortly before the season, in a really tragic way, and so I'm sure that's going to be really hard for him to overcome and to be fully focused on basketball at all times. That's just another obstacle that he's going to have to face. But, at the same time, like that team's going to have to be there to pick each other up and go through some real adversity. And, it's like you have to continue to stay together when you're not getting over that hump. And, I know Ant's been getting frustrated with not being able to achieve it. But at the same time, they're also a team that's like, there really isn't any other moves to make,
Mhm.
like this is who they are.
Right.
So you got to get over the hump some way.
Oh, the next team, Sean.
Oh boy. I mean,
Yeah.
they're right there with Charlotte.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
this is a what's happening here. I mean, Troy Weaver and Joe Dumars come into the situation. They take over the front office of the Pelicans. They're kind of tearing things down. It almost looks like the beginning of Detroit when Troy Weaver came in, where it's very clear that they're going young, but they have like that superstar in his prime who's trying to win. There, like kind of at the center of it. It seems like he's, starting to get in better shape. Also, if you look at the contract, though, there's literally contractual obligations for Zion to be in the condition that he's in. So I question it, how much of that is money focused and how much of that is wanting to get his career back on track. All of this to say, like, this is like, I don't see a scenario where New Orleans is anything higher than like the 12th seed in the West. And especially when you have guys that like you are paying, or you are like, you should be going into a different level now. You're only going backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. And Zion, again, too talented for this to be what he has to show in his career. Like, seriously. Like, we saw the hype around him in college. We've even seen flashes of that in the league, but nothing longer significant to be competitive. Oh my gosh. Yeah, really tough.
Yeah. I think these next two teams we could probably just do together because they're both contenders.
Yeah.
The Thunder, I don't even think we have to have as much of a conversation on. This is the defending champions.
Mhm.
They're going to be right there at the end if they're healthy. I don't think there's any questions you can have about the Thunder at this point. Like, they are the class of the NBA until proven otherwise. They're going to be in this tier for the next decade.
Yeah. Right.
So just get used to seeing them here.
Yep.
The Knicks, this is without a doubt the highest pressure season for any team on this list, because it comes with all of the expectations that Cleveland has, that Denver has, that Oklahoma City has. But you know what the difference is, Troy? They're in New York.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Knicks. This is the most lunatic fan base. They went and fired their coach because the Eastern Conference Finals wasn't good enough.
And Sean, not just that, but when you look at the Knicks franchise itself, they haven't had really anything the past 25 years. That's a quarter century to show forth. And now you have the first competitive roster who, again, had a great regular season, had a good little playoff run. Someone who lives in Indiana had the better roster than Indiana, but obviously the Pacers just played the better basketball to win that series in six. But and that easily could have went to seven. Easily could have went to seven. Just how game one unraveled, the disaster of blowing a 17-point lead in the second half. Yeah. But as much pressure is on them, Sean, I'm pretty optimistic. I think that the team is too good to have anything short of another Eastern Conference Finals run.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jalen Brunson is phenomenal. I am a very big fan of the collection of players that they have here. Carl Anthony Towns was awesome in his first year as a Knick, and I'm excited to see what he can do now, like fully integrated in the system. I do have a lot of respect for Mike Brown. I do want it to work there. He is one of those coaches I want to see win a championship, but at the same time, I just have to keep pointing out I don't see the obvious upgrade here. Like, yes, offensively, there are their system has looked really interesting with with the half second offense. Like, I think this is a group that works really well with because of the fact that you have some really solid decision makers. You have players who are really experienced and can do a variety of different things with the basketball. At the same time, I also wouldn't be surprised if this team takes a definitive step backwards defensively because you lost one of the best defensive minds in the history of basketball in Tom Thibodeau. Like, we have to acknowledge, like, yeah, as inept as this team was at times offensively, as much as it was have you ever seen the movie Kicking and Screaming?
Yeah.
It's like, it was really just a pass it to the Italians offense. And their Italian was Jalen Brunson. Like, sure. Get the ball to Brunson. That was their offense. But their defense was masterful. And I mean, last year it wasn't the level that it needed to be, but it's still like under Tom Thibodeau. That is your defensive compass. That is your, like, one of the best defensive coaches in basketball. And I think this is a team that could potentially regress in that area because of that. So just something like where it's like, all right, you better be right when you fire a coach like that, your best coach in 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
Now, Troy, I think the Orlando Magic are the on the doorstep category to a T.
Ooh.
When you look at the moves that they've made, the young talent coming together, I think when you go and add a Desmond Bane, like, this is a team, like, they've been frisky for a while. Mm-hmm. But now with the balance of power shifting in the Eastern Conference, you have Paolo, you have Bane, you have Franz. Like, this is a team that like especially if Jalen Suggs can stay healthy and out on the court, this is a team that is as dangerous as anybody to the top of the Eastern Conference when you get into playoff time. But again, health can derail this team as much as anybody in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was gonna put them at frisky, but I think your sell of they've been frisky for a while and they've got better. I don't think any NBA fan will argue otherwise as far as they made the right moves that needed to happen this offseason. And and just like we've defined, on the doorstep can easily be getting kicked off the doorstep. So that regard, a little more comfortable having them there.
And I can make an argument, Troy. I would not be shocked if the Orlando Magic ended the season as the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. I wouldn't be shocked.
I'd be pretty shocked.
well, hold on now. It would be like surprising, but the Knicks, I think their focus is postseason. I don't think they care if they're the first, second, third, or fourth seed. Truly, I really don't think they care. The Cavaliers, like, this is a team obviously that's built to do really well in the regular season, but do you think it's realistic for them to get back to 64 wins?
Sure.
Like, that's hard to do for any team, especially with Darius Garland going into the season unhealthy. So all I'm saying is I'm not predicting them to be the number one seed, mm-hmm. but I would say they're the dark horse to be the number one seed. How about that?
Paulo is legit, and we all know that. So with that, sky's the limit because, he like anyone, Sean, could have a bigger breakout year than we're ready for.
Yeah. I mean, they were the number one seed at one point a couple of years ago for like a quarter of the season. So it's not like they haven't been there before. Now, Philadelphia. Yeah. I mean, this is quintessential. What's happening? What are we doing? Mm-hmm. The awful extensions to Joel Embiid and the terrible contract that's been Paul George. You have a guy in VJ Edgecombe who looks like he's going to be awesome. You have Tyrese Maxey, he's really fun and is a great young guard. When Jared McCain can stay healthy, he showed himself to be a really dynamic, fun young guard too. But I hate what this team is and what they want to be.
You just can't even cheer for them as an NBA fan, right?
No.
Like you genuinely have ill intentions with them. You want them to fail, especially with our team being in the same conference. They're unlikable.
Yeah. They're like they just, the vibes are just all-time gross. And quite frankly, what's there to say about this team that hasn't been said now for like 5 years?
The process ended.
It's dead. It's done. Even if this team gets to its maximum potential of itself this season, it's not getting out of the East.
Right.
Even if this team has a successful year, it's nothing more than what they've been under Joel Embiid. They peak at a second round exit.
I was gonna say the best case scenario for this team, like absolute best, is second round exit, and that should not be. You should not be proud of that with how you've constructed this roster, how you've been all in. The fact that which means that that's your best, you're probably going to get bounced in the first.
Yeah, no question. No question. As we're approaching the end here, Troy, I see a couple teams that we can just kind of speed run here real quick.
Absolutely.
So if it's okay with you,
yeah.
I think we can just place these two teams right down there.
And what makes those two teams so easy is they're openly nuclear fallout, right? Like they're openly saying as an organization, we're not ready yet.
Yeah, Utah and Washington pretty much have their tank gear on. They're pretty much coming out in full military garb, ready to load up the cannons and get the tanks out of the yard. Like they are there to do one thing and one thing only, and that is lose a lot of basketball games. So they have some young players that I'm excited to see, but they are clearly in the nuclear fallout zone here.
Right. Yeah, even just adding like CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton, guys 2-3 years ago, we were talking about, playing some high quality basketball for the teams that they were on, just to be kind of just scrubs on a probably your last 15th seed in the Eastern Conference. Kind of sad, but I mean they've made this roster what it is for a reason. So
yeah, no question. I think a team that when you talk about another, Matt Ishbia's the what are we doing here memorial owner. Yeah. Like this could really be the Phoenix Suns category when you think about it. Mm-hmm. Especially with I just free Devin Booker, but you can't because you paid Devin Booker. You paid him an astronomical amount of money that he's untradeable now.
Right. I was going to say you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say unmovable, but yes, untradeable is the right word too.
Yeah, like he is not going anywhere. Like he is a Phoenix Sun for the rest of his career, whether he wants to be or not. And I mean, he clearly wants to be. He signed the deal. He said a lot of times he wants to be in Phoenix for like the rest of his days. But if I'm Jalen Green, like, what am I doing here? Mm-hmm. Like, how do I fit into all of this? I think Dylan Brooks is a good signing. Like, I could see them being like a frisky playing team. But like, if that's all they are,
what are we doing here?
Exactly. And they have no cap. They have no draft capital to get better. I was going to say.
Right. And there's too good of players to be a play-in team where then you have to ask the question of what are we doing here?
Exactly. Now, Portland is interesting because I could see them being frisky very quickly. They have some young talent I really like. The Shaedon Sharpe is really good. I think they have a very clear direction of where they want to be. I think it's a team that is actually going to try to win some games, like be decently competitive. I think they've seen the luck of Dallas and of some of these other of Atlanta and some of these other playing teams, and they realize like they have enough here now to where they're not going to be the dredges of the Western Conference. But at the same time, I don't think they're good enough to where you can say that they're going to be anything other than like a play-in team or like in kind of that middle of the pack of the West. So this is a team that once Damian Lillard comes back next year, I think they're instantly frisky.
Yeah. So we'll put mid for now.
Yeah. But to me, like that's like they are like to me, like Portland's like I like give some credit to Chauncey, man. Keep an eye on Portland, like over the next couple of years. This is a team that can be very interesting very quickly.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Sacramento.
Mid.
Yeah, I agree. like we know what they're doing here.
Yeah.
What they're doing here is they're just trying to not be ass. Because that is all they've been. That is all they've been.
Well, hey, they were a 4th seed that one year, a couple of years ago, but I think the fact that they've regressed is disappointing.
Yeah. And also, I mean, like Keegan Murray already being out at the beginning of the year, like this is and also, oh yeah, they brought in Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, you ain't getting out of the West, buddy.
No, they're not even they might not even get in the play-in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. San Antonio, though, I mean, they're getting frisky.
Yeah, I know. I could see a world where they surprise us all. They're kind of my obvious dark horse with even making a playoff run. I mean, would you be surprised if this team went to a game 7 in the second round?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, if Wemby becomes the guy that we all think he is this year, like if he takes that jump that we've all been expecting in the kind of the year 3 Wemby arc, they are right there. They are the doorstep.
And when we look at the 5 teams we have in there, they're the ones I have the most faith in.
Yeah, for sure. To me, like they're the ones I have the most faith in because they have the most promising player. Mm-hmm. However, I think the roster around Wemby still needs a lot of clarity. Yeah, I think they have a log jam now in guards, and I think Stephon Castle is going to be there for a long time. I think he's going to kind of be like your off-ball defensive guard who can do some stuff with the ball in his hands. But you brought in De'Aaron Fox. You also went and drafted Dylan Harper, who needs the ball in his hands as well. They're probably going to stagger those guys' minutes quite a bit. We really haven't seen De'Aaron Fox play much at all yet with Wemby. So this is a team that still needs to get better around Wemby to really be truly as good as they can be, or to really be at the top of the West. But I think this is the year that they take the leap. And this is the year that tells San Antonio, okay, it's time to start really being serious here.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Toronto?
Yeah. I mean,
why are they so expensive?
Right. And Scotty Barnes is too good to me, at least valuable. Maybe that's a better word. Too valuable to be putting in this position of still. I mean, they haven't even remotely tried to build around him as far as bringing in talented players. I mean, you got Ingram, I guess, but same position,
I mean, they've just put so much money into this team, and for what? Why do you have Brandon Ingram as for like $40 million? Why do you have Emmanuel Quickly for 100? Why do you sign him to a $150 million contract? Why is RJ Barrett at like $30 million? Why did you sign Jakob Poeltl to all these years? This is a team that's just so puzzling, and they're just like their ceiling to me is play-in or like maybe 6th seed. Maybe
that's too high for me. Yeah,
maybe if that. Yeah. So it's I am not a believer of Toronto Raptors. I can't get myself there.
Yeah, and looking at that roster too, when you sign players for those types of contracts, you're locking in when you have no reason to be committed to some of these players. I mean, yeah, obviously, Emmanuel Quickly's fine, good, solid NBA player. RJ Barrett has proved himself, but has they proved himself for that type of money? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. Last, but most certainly not least, the Detroit Pistons.
Yes, sir.
Going into the year, off of a 30-win jump from the year before. They do obviously have the news of Jaden Ivey going to be missing some time here after getting surgery. This is a team that is very much obviously still on the ascension and has a lot of development. But I think it's fair to say, Troy, the Pistons are getting frisky this year.
Yeah. And I mean, with looking at how the East is somewhat open, of certainly more competitive than years past. We could, if we revisited this list in February, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe we're too biased here about moving them up to on the doorstep just because of we know what, dude, Cade's effort during preseason, he was just getting reps up. And the production we saw from him in preseason, I'm not going to say he's a different Cade, but he's a better Cade. And that should be scary for the Eastern Conference.
He was almost 60, 60, 90 in his shooting splits in the preseason. He 63% from the field, 58% from three, and 92% from the free throw line.
Yeah. Sean, would you be shocked if this team's a 4th seed?
No, not at all. I think that road's a lot harder now that you have Jaden Ivey out for a month. I think you still have a lot that you need to figure out in terms of replacing the scoring volume of Malik Beasley. I think there's still a lot of pressure on Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson to produce in their roles.
Yeah.
But I think Cade Cunningham's primed to have another all NBA caliber season. I think he's teetering on first team this year. I think Ron Holland is going to have a second year leap. I think Asar Thompson really having a year to actually, really have an off season and to, compound that into, a season where you can actually play and not have minutes restrictions. I think this Pistons team is primed to be on that doorstep. I think they're probably a year away from being where Orlando is right now. I think they have to go and get their Desmond Bane, which who knows? Is that a Lauri Markkanen? Is that a Zion Williamson? Is that, is that a variety of different players who could potentially be traded at some point? They are in a prime position to add into maneuver around. They're in the decision-making process now too. So I think there's a very good chance that there is a pretty different roster at the beginning of the year than there is at the end of the year. But nonetheless, whoever's there, as long as Cade Cunningham's on the court, this team's got a shot.
That's right. I feel really good about our list, man.
I do too. Honestly, if you were to try to have me eyeball and predict where teams are going to be at the start of this all, I think this is a pretty good emblematic look of the league. And I don't think there's really anything here I'm going to regret too much. Maybe if I were to go back and do my own ranking, I'd maybe have the Lakers at a little bit lower just because I don't love the roster that they have. I'd maybe do a little tweaking here and there, but overall the contenders, I think this is spot on. I think this second tier here for the most part is really good. I think we have the middle of the league kind of mapped out pretty well. And I don't think there's any questions that this final tier, this is definitively the 3 worst teams of the league. This is definitively the 4 best.
Yeah. Yep.
So I feel pretty good about that.
Me too, my friend.
Yeah. With that, I'd love to hear from you that watched this episode. What would you change, if anything, about our tier? Let us know in the comments section down below. Who do you have in your contender list? And what do you think about where the Pistons were ranked? Let us know as well. But with that, thank you for tuning in to the special tier episode of From Half Court. Be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of the coverage we have coming this season.